Hello and welcome to this transmitter programming tutorial for the E-flite Habu SS. Today I'll be programming this DX6E, but this programming is applicable for all DX G2 radios. Let's get started by selecting a new model. Click the scroll wheel and scroll all the way down to System Setup. Click. This gives us a warning letting us know that by going to the next menu, our RF deck will be turned off, meaning our transmitter will not be sending out a signal. Click Yes. And now scroll down to Model Select. Now we can scroll down to the bottom and select Add New Model. Click on Create. And now we'll name the model. Scroll down to Model Name. Click. And I'll start with the first character. I'll go ahead and name it Habu SS. Now that the model is named, we'll push the back button and back once more to take us back to the main screen. Now we'll click the scroll wheel and scroll down to DR and Expo to set up our dual rates. Click. We'll start with the aileron channel since that's what's already selected for us. We just need to choose a switch. The manual for the Habu recommends that we use 3 different switches for our dual rates. Switch F, controlling our aileron dual rates. Switch C, controlling our elevator dual rates. Switch G, controlling our rudder dual rates. Now we'll select the switch for the aileron channel. Scroll down to where it says On next to switch and click. And scroll to the right until you get to switch F. The F switch in the 0 position will be our high rates. We'll leave those rates at 100%, but we need to add an expo of 10%. We'll scroll to expo and click, and scroll to the right until we get to 10%, and then click to lock it in. Now we'll flip the F switch down to our low rate position, and now we'll set the rates to 70%. Click on the 100s, scroll to the left till we get to 70. And click to lock it in. Now we need 5% expo on the low rates. So scroll down to the expo zeros, click, and scroll to the right until we get to 5%. Now we can see that switch is working. Now let's do the same for the elevator and rudder channels. We'll scroll up to where it says aileron, click, and scroll to the right to elevator, and then click. Scroll down to switch on, click, and set the switch to switch C. With the switch C in the 0 positions for high rates, we'll leave it at 100% and set an expo of 10%. We'll flip the switch down to the low rate position, and now we'll set those dual rates down to 70%. And the expo to 5%. Verify that it's working. And now we'll set the rudder channel. Select the switch. Switch G. 0 position, 100%. Expo 10%. Flip to 1, the low rate position, and set the dual rate to 70. And the expo to 5%. Now that our dual rates and expo are set, let's push the back button and go to Throttle Cut. Scroll down one to Throttle Cut and click. And now scroll down to Inhibit to select a switch. Click on Inhibit and scroll to the right. The H switch is most commonly used for the throttle cut switch, and that's the switch I'll be using. You'll notice that just by selecting the switch, it automatically sets the position to -100%. So if we flip our throttle cut on, our throttle channel is now locked at -100%. This is very important when out at the flying field to help prevent the chance of an accidental throttle up. With our throttle cut set, we can now push the back button to the main menu. Our DX6E is now programmed and ready to fly the E-flite Habu SS. Thank you for joining me in this tutorial. Hello and welcome to this transmitter programming tutorial for the E-flite Habu SS. Today I'll be programming this NX6 transmitter, but this programming is applicable for all Spektrum NX radios. Let's get started by selecting a new model. Click the scroll wheel and scroll down to System Setup. And click. This gives us a warning screen letting us know that by proceeding into the next menu, it will shut off our RF deck, meaning no signal will be being sent from our transmitter. Click Yes. And now scroll down to Model Select and click. And we'll scroll down to Add New Model and click, and down to Create. Now we have a brand new, completely blank model on our transmitter. Let's name the model. Scroll down to Model Name, and we'll scroll down and click. And starting with the first character, we'll name our model. I'm going to name it Habu SS. After you have the model named, you can push the back button to lock it in and continue to push back until you're back at the home screen. Now we'll click the scroll wheel, which takes us to the function list, and we'll scroll down to DR and Expo to set up our dual rates and exponential. Click. The manual recommends using a different switch for each dual rate on this model. Starting with the aileron channel, we'll scroll down to the switch on and click, and scroll to the right to set it to the F switch. The F switch in the 0 position will be our high rates, so we'll leave that at 100%. We do need to go to Expo and click and add 10% to the Expo. Now we'll flip the F switch down to the 1 position, or our low rate position, and we'll set the rates to 70. And click to lock them in. And we'll do an Expo of 5%. We can see that's working as it should. Now let's do the same for the elevator and rudder channel. Scroll up to aileron, click. Select elevator, click, and now scroll down to switch and click, and scroll to the right until we get to the C switch. The C switch will control our elevator dual rates. In the 0 position will be our high rates. We'll leave that at 100% and add a 10% Expo. Now we'll flip the C switch down to the low rate position, or position 1, and we'll change those rates down to 70. And add a 5% Expo. All right, now we'll do our rudder. The rudder channel will be controlled by the G switch. In the 0 position are high rates. Add Expo of 10%. Flip down to our low rate position, number 1, and change the rates down to 70. And add 5% Expo. Now our dual rates and exponential are set. Push the back button. Now we're back on the function list. We'll go down to throttle cut. Click on throttle cut and scroll down to where it says inhibit and click, and scroll to the right to select a switch. The H switch is most commonly used for the throttle cut, and that's the switch I'll be using. We can see that just by selecting the switch, the position is locked in at negative 100%. That is exactly where we want it. When you flip throttle cut on, the throttle channel is locked at negative 100%. This is very important for safety when out at the flying field to help prevent an accidental throttle up. Now we can push the back button to go back to the main menu. And now this NX6 is programmed and ready to fly the Habu SS. Thank you so much for joining me in this tutorial. Hello and welcome to this transmitter programming tutorial for the E-flite Habu SS. Today I'll be programming with this IX14 transmitter, but this programming is applicable for all Spektrum IX radios. Let's get started by selecting a brand new model. Tap the orange marker on the top left-hand side of the screen, and then click Proceed. Click the three orange dots at the top right-hand side, and then click Add New Model. Default, Airplane, and Create. Now we'll scroll down to the bottom here to find our model, Acro. And now we can click on the name to name the model. First I'll delete what's there, and I'll name it Habu SS. Once you have the model named, click Done, and then back to Model Utilities. And back once again to take us to the home screen. Now let's set up our dual rates and exponential. Click on Model Adjust, and then click Dual Rates and Expo. The manual recommends that we use 3 different switches for our dual rates. Starting with our aileron channel, we'll select our F switch. With the F switch in the 0 position, that will be our high rates. So we'll leave that at 100%. But we need to add 10% expo. Now we'll flip the F switch down to the 1 position for our low rates, and we'll set the rates down to 70%. And then an expo of 5%. We can verify that's working. And now we'll do the same for our elevator and rudder channels. Select elevator, and then we'll choose the switch. Set the switch to the C switch. And with the C switch in that 0 position, high rates, we'll leave it at 100. And we'll add 10% expo. Flip the switch down to the 1 position for our low rate position. And we'll set the rates down to 70. And add a 5% expo. We can verify it's working. And now we'll do the same for our rudder channel. Select the switch. We'll use the G switch for the rudder. G switch in the 0 position. We'll stay at 100%. We'll add 10% expo. And we'll go to the 1 position with 70% and add 5% expo. And we'll verify it's working. Now that our dual rates and exponentials are set up, let's push the back button, take us back to the Model Adjust screen, and now click on Throttle Cut. Click on Inhibit to select a switch. The H switch is most commonly used as the throttle cut switch, and that's the switch I'll be using. We can see that just by selecting the switch, it automatically sets the position for negative 100%. That's exactly where we want it. When we flip throttle cut on, it locks the throttle channel into negative 100%. This is very important when out at the flying field to help reduce the chance of an accidental throttle up. Now we'll just push the back button twice back to the main screen, and that's all we have to do to program the Habu SS. Our iX-14 is now ready to fly the E-flite Habu SS. Thank you so much for joining me in this tutorial.